Now, you see, you just gave me away your strategy. I might just veer off my strategy just to play out against you. I mean, you just said you might go Josh Doxson. Maybe I'll go Jamison Crowder.
And I've already thought about that, and that's why I'm going to go Ryan Grant after that. Well, what do we have here? It's another edition of ManzMaker. We are on to week 6. Things are crazy. We got players getting injured. There's a war going on over where our knees should go during the national anthem. Who knows what is up, what is down, but all I do know is DFS continues to be played, and that is what we are going to get to. Just the hardcore DFS action. Who to play, who's a good salary value, how to late swap, how to pivot. Check out our theory segment later. That's what we do here on the ManzMaker. And today, I have a truly prestigious guest. You know him as Mikey Tagliere. He's from the site FantasyPros, and he will be on shortly. But before we can do that, it's time for some news and booze. Okay, if you haven't seen by now, the CEO of Roto Grinders banked the Millie Maker this week, and it has sent shockwaves through the industry. First of all, no one knows how to refer to Mr. Spears. Is he a CEO? Is he a tout? Is he a pro? Daily Roto hedged their bets in a lineup review column and used the dreaded quotations around the word pro. So I think if we read between the lines, it means he's like a pro, but kind of not like a pro. So it just overwhelms me, okay? I just want to know. I want to know who someone is when they win the Millie. Are they a pro or are they a fan? None of this in-between quasi bullshit. Cal Spears, you tell us once and for all, what are you, sir? Because no one knows. All right, but more concerning about him winning the Millie Makers was the fact that he also works at Roto Grinders, and the fact that some of the plays that he picked in that winning lineup were touted on shows on his site.
Your secret 1 and 150 lineup play at tight end.
At tight end?
Yeah.
Kittle.
Here, Kittle.
Dude.
So after hearing that, all I can say is that certainly begs the question of, was there collusion? If you're taking plays from the site you run and then using that to win, that begs collusion, okay? I'm going to give you guys a pass for right now, but Roto Grinders, just know, I'm watching you guys, bro. I see you over there. I see what you're doing, and I'm watching you very closely. But irregardless, Mr. Cal, you speared a big one, dude. That's a huge score. Congrats. You got paid, and I hope you got laid too, bro. Hope you got laid. All right, it is now time for Pete's Tweet of the Week. Now, this is a little narcissistic of me, but the man's won the tweet of the week. No, it actually is more about our friend Mike Clay's dude. He works for ESPN, and his tweet was, you know your 3-year-old watches too many YouTube videos when she ends a conversation with, don't forget to comment below. And the man's had to chime in and said, you'll really be in trouble when she starts saying, get paid, get laid. That's the future I want to live in, is where Mike Clay and all the other fantasy analyst daughters and sons around the globe are watching Manzanelli videos. Get them started early, folks. Get them started early. Okay, that is it for Tweet of the Week, News and Booze. It is time for our guest, Mikey Tags, after the jump. Welcome back, everybody. I am now joined by a truly prestigious guest. He's a lead NFL writer for Fantasy Bros. He's been twice a top 6 ranker on that site. Welcome to the pod, Mikey Tags. What is up, my bro?
What's going on, Manz? When I first initially got your invite to the show, I wanted to turn it down because it was like I watched the pizza eating contest and you failed me. But I came back due to your effort in the marathon and the fact that I just saw a picture of you with Phil Hellmuth, which is pretty legit, man. So I got to give you props on that.
That's right, dude. The man's now brushes shoulders with Phil Hellmuth, or should I say Phil Hellmuth brushes shoulders with the man's. It is a new development, and I agree, dude. The pizza thing, it was disappointing, but I should just remind everyone I did do a 16-inch pizza instead of 14, and I did try to talk and entertain the live stream while doing the contest. You watched through all the DraftKings Pizza Challenge videos. No one is entertaining their audience and talking quite like I was. So, you got to give me a little handicap there.
Oh, I give you props. You were talking, and as you're talking, I'm just like, dude, come on, man. It's like, get through this. Stop talking to us. Eat the pizza. I mean, the only one that even came close was Britt Devine. I don't know if you saw Britt's pizza eating. He had the whole 8 Mile thing to start out, and it was fantastic. I enjoyed all those videos.
Yeah. So Britt, right after I finished mine, he just wrote in all caps failure. So I was very excited to see him pretty much not get his, even though they credited him, whatever. But yeah, I needed to throw that Schadenfreude's back in his face. Speaking of pizza, let's talk about Chicago, dude. You were just up. You were at a meetup, a meeting of all these fantasy minds in Chicago, and I don't want to get the flowery version of how it was great to mingle with people in the industry. I want to know who made a bad decision. Did anyone do anything that could ruin their career? Spill the beans right now. What really went down at this fantasy football meetup?
All right, so what really happened is I'm going to throw Evan Silva under the bus because Evan, him and I, we got dragged. So I'm gonna be honest here, okay? So we're sitting there, we're having a few drinks, and one of my followers came over and said, "Hey, Tags, do you want to play some foosball? And we'll grab Evan, and Evan will play with one of his followers." I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I start walking over to this other table. He's like, "Mike, that's not a foosball table. Like, we got to go over here." And I haven't played foosball since I was like maybe 10 years old. So I mean, I'm just being completely honest. I don't even know where one would go to play foosball, but I've not been there. So we go over. Evan and his follower win game one. Evan's like talking mad crap, man. He just like won't stop. I don't know if we could swear on here, but he was talking shit. So after that, they're like, "Hey, if you guys lose this game, you guys got to buy us drinks. You got to buy us shots." And so it's like, all right, cool. We win that game, and Evan's like swearing. He's pissed. He needs a break, right? He's like, we should have fucking won. And he's telling this follower, right, this guy that he's never met. He's just like, dude, you got to step up your fucking game, bro. And so then Evan goes to the bathroom, comes back, and he's like doing this like Cam Newton like walkout like ceremony thing. Evan gets spanked. Okay, we beat them. Like they scored 1 goal. Like we scored 8 in a row. And Evan refused to even shake my hand. So I walked over. I started calling him Cam Newton. I'm like, dude, you just lost the Super Bowl. How do you feel? And I didn't even make him buy me a drink. He was so salty. But yeah, Evan, he was the one who lost the foosball championship.
Wow, Evan Silva's the truth finally comes out. You had Evan Silva's on tilt. He's going all Phillip Rivers, berating his teammates for their actions, being a poor sport. Wow, Evan. So this is the kind of nugget I was hoping for. You delivered. Thank you so much. Sounded like a fun time. So you write and work for FantasyPros. And FantasyPros, it's all about accountability, right? You guys rank people. Do you think, is this good for fantasy? Are there too many people out there just tossing out picks, all willy-nilly, and then not having anyone kind of hold their feet to the fire and being like, bro, you're sucking at this right now? Is that what your site is supposed to do?
Well, it's kind of to hold people accountable, right? Because here's the deal. Like people throw out rankings, and it's pretty simple to throw out rankings and then say, hey, I was right on this last week, but there may have been a lot of things where someone was wrong, right? And when it comes down to it, like Mike Clay and I had gotten into a conversation when I first got into FantasyPros as a ranker, and I was like, hey, Mike, I'm doing really good. I feel like I'm moving up in the industry. He's like, well, Mike, just because you're like 0.2 percentage points better than X, guy that's on TV or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically a better analyst than them. Understand the game, get better at that. And I've always strived towards that, to try and get better to understand the game. And I live by it's called process over results, right? I feel like if you let someone know the process of what you're doing and like understand the logic behind it, they're going to eventually respect you. And even if you're wrong, they'll respect the result, even if it's not ideal. But FantasyPros has something, it is really neat in the fact that it does hold people accountable to actually judge them on the rankings they're putting out there. And yes, it's tougher for some guys that are on TV, leading up to noon. And that's what people need to understand is that if it's going up until noon when they're on TV and they don't get to change their rankings, that affects it, right? But that also affects the reader that they have that's going to look at their rankings on the internet. So there's a fine line here. So I do believe FantasyPros holds people accountable. And for the majority, I would say for 98% of people, yeah, it does judge them fairly.
Nice. Yeah, although my takeaway from that story was you told Mike Clay, you're like, dude, here's the numbers. It says I'm crushing it. And he was like, no. He's like, no, I got to watch the tape. You showed the numbers guy the numbers. He's like, no, on tape, dude, your hip fluidity isn't quite there yet. Keep running through those drills.
That's basically what he did. He's like, get better, bruh.
Get better.
So I went back to the camp and got better. So actually, I'm pleased to say that FantasyPros hasn't tweeted it out yet, but I'm actually sitting at #1 right now in accuracy for the season. So I don't know if that's going to last very long because there's a lot of smart people out there, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Do you know what? When I hear that, I think of collusion, dude. We got
I
the,
know,
the
but-
guy at Fantasy Pros at the top.
Yes.
They're behind, fidgeting the numbers. Collusion. I'm just going to say it right now. There might be some collusion.
Believe me, you know what's funny is we actually talked about this, and it was like, oh crap, now people are going to think that, of course it's rigged. And the truth is, if I hadn't finished top 6 in the competition 2 years, and there was 2 years where I finished top 6, it would be more, I guess, along the lines. But if people had followed my advice this season, I feel like it's been pretty strong so far. DFS has been pretty good to me. Last week was pretty even, but if you go back to week 4, it was I hit like 9 times in week 4. So yeah, I mean, I can understand why some people would say that though. I definitely I always try and take a look at things from both angles. So I get it.
That's right. All right, let's get to the good stuff. You mentioned DFS. We're heading now into week 6. Tell me right now, I know it's a little early, who is the guy when you're building lineups that you're having a hard time leaving out of a lineup?
It's weird because I'm not even really a fan of the player, but Terrelle Pryor. He's someone who I didn't like coming into the season. I still don't like him as a player. I think that I think he's someone who people took for granted that just because you're an athlete means that you could play the wide receiver position. And I think he's proved everybody wrong. Last year, 140 targets, that he was a very volume dependent wide receiver. But this week, he's really, really sneaky going up against the 49ers. And the reason I say that is because the 49ers, the wide receivers that they're getting beaten by are speed guys. You think T.Y. Hilton crushed them last week for, I think, 177 yards. You go back to that Thursday night game against Sammy Watkins, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those are both speed guys, right? Terrelle Pryor, if we know he's got one thing, it's speed. So he should be able to get behind the secondary, get open. He's really cheap. Nobody's going to be on him because, well, he's played like crap. So I think he's a solid play. Another player I'd say throw out there is Mike Gillislee. Silva's been throwing some shade at Gillislee, and it's because he's got a bet on the line with Scott Barrett about it. But Gillislee is the type of player who could win you a week. Like, he could win you a lot of money if he hits pay dirt like 3 times. And know this, man. This is what I want you to take away.
I'm ready.
Tom Brady, over the last 4 years while playing in New York, has averaged just over 1 touchdown a game, basically 200 yards a game. He's been horrible, actually, playing in New York. And it's not against the teams. It's playing against the actual Jets in New York, because when they come out to New England, he's been killing them. Almost 3 touchdowns a game, 300 yards. So I do believe this is a run-heavy script for them. I think Mike Gillislee scores 2 touchdowns.
Wow, I like it. It's funny you say that because I've been getting, I own him in some season-long leagues. I've been getting some offers for Gillislee, so people must be reading your stuff, hearing the little nibbles they're coming after my Gillislees right now.
Yeah, I mean, they should be. That's the thing. You go back to last year, and LeGarrette Blount is someone who, there were just 3 games all of last year where LeGarrette Blount did not score a touchdown. So we're already at 3 games for Mike Gillislee. It's been 3 games in a row. With Tom Brady's shoulder injury that he's got, it's just, you go back to what this team, they're struggling on defense. Tom Brady can't throw the ball 50 times per game. They have to even out the offense. Mike Gillislee's been getting at least 12 carries every single game. He's going to get goal line work. They're going to score on the Jets. So yeah, no, hang on to Gillislee, man. Don't sell so low.
All right, I'm going to hold him very close. It is now time for my hit segment, Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. You already mentioned Terrelle Pryor, but let's get another guy. I assume you would like him with a little Kirk Cousins, but how about another stack for us that you like in tournaments this week?
It's hard not to like Drew Brees coming off the bye week. They played in London. They were the smart team. They actually took the bye after the bye week. So for him to have a full 2 weeks to game plan for a team like Detroit, who was murdered by quarterbacks last year. Granted, they've been better this year, but if you look at the competition, it hasn't been great. This past week, they got diced up a little bit. So they're without Haloti Ngata. He just was placed on the IR. Obviously, he's better against the run, but yeah, Drew Brees at home. I think it was Michael Fabiano. He tweeted out something saying, yep, there it is. I had it pulled up for this. Drew Brees has averaged 31 fantasy points, 360 passing yards, 24 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions in his last 6 home games following a bye week. So Drew Brees has been really good coming off a bye at home, which is important to know, right? And I think a lot of people, when they're looking at Brees at 7,200, on DraftKings, they're going to think that Deshaun Watson is 500 cheaper. Why not go down to Deshaun Watson, who's probably going to have similar results? I think that Breeze or Matt Ryan would be the contrarian play, and you're going to stack them with their studs, right? You're going to play Michael Thomas or you're going to play Julio Jones. I think I would prefer the Breeze stack just because Julio, we don't know if he's 100%. But Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, don't be worried about Darius Slay. Darius Slay's, honestly, in my book, and I know some people have kind of shrugged when I said it, but I think Darius Slay is a little bit overrated as a corner. So I'm not worried about him shadowing Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has played better corners this year, and I think going into the bye week, he was sitting as the number 7 fantasy wide receiver. So, yeah, Drew Brees and Michael Thomas is probably my favorite stack of the week.
Nice, dude. Can I tell you my one little concern about the Saints this week?
Yeah.
They just lost their emotional leader, the bedrock of their offense. Adrian, why are you laughing, dude? They just lost the best running back of all time. I don't know how you can see that this is a net positive for this team.
Well, I mean, I know he was taking away a lot of touchdown upside for Drew Brees. That obviously plays into it. Him scoring the 0.0 touchdowns that he did per game. That's only going to free up more touchdowns for Drew Brees, right? Like that's where I sit with it. That's what I took away from it. It just frees up more touchdowns for Drew Brees. That's it.
Okay. All right. It is now time to move to our final segment. Are you familiar with the Manz 69 challenge?
The Manz 69 challenge. I'm worried about this. No, I'm not.
Okay, here's the deal. I've been doing this every week with all my guests. Every guest up to this point has accepted, but you of course you don't have to. But I will explain the rules. So on DraftKings, you know how you get 9 slots, right? So I'm going to propose a head-to-head to you on DraftKings, but here's the deal. The Manz, because he's the Manz, is going to throw out his 3 worst scores. So I'm only going to have 6 guys going against your 9 in a head-to-head. So theoretically, you would think you would win, right? But if the Manz beats you on Twitter, you have to say that the Manz is the greatest DFS player of our generation. And if you win, like you should, right? Like you should, I will tout you. I will say, everybody follow Mike Tagliere on Twitter, follow FantasyPros, and share your work and give you the rightful due you have in this industry. So, do you accept the 69 challenge?
I accept your 69 challenge.
Okay, and just to give you a little recap, the Manz is up to this point. This is week 6. I did 1 preseason. I'm 1-5, but I beat CSU Rams 2 weeks ago. He just paid off his debt on Twitter. So look, what happens, and I tell my guests this, is because we're playing a head-to-head, I ask you what your favorite plays and your favorite stacks are, and then I leverage that against you. So look, you like Drew Brees, that means I'm going Mark Ingram, okay? That means you like Terrelle Pryor, I'm going Josh Doxson, dude. So I'm just going to zig where you're zagging, and I'm going to crush you, dude.
Now, you see, you just gave me away your strategy. I might just veer off my strategy just to play out against you. I mean, you just said you might go Josh Doxson. Maybe I'll go Jamison Crowder.
And I've already thought about that, and that's why I'm going to go Ryan Grant after that.
Damn.
Boom.
Now we're down to Jordan Reed, and I don't like that. So I feel like I'm going to lose this now.
Okay. Dude, Mikey Tags, I appreciate you coming on. I will send over the invite. Like I said, you guys can find all of his work on Twitter and on FantasyPros. What kind of content do you drop during the week? Let them know your schedule.
Yeah, so I work on this massive article. It's like a 20,000 word article every single week. It's called The Primer, and where I go through every single matchup, talking about every single player on the fantasy slate from a DFS standpoint and a season-long slate. That drops every Thursday, usually mid-morning. So check that out tomorrow. I do some wide receiver, cornerback stuff, and but The Primer is my that's my soul. I put everything I have into that one.
Nice, dude. We will link to that in the show notes as well as Mike's Twitter. Definitely check him out if you're not familiar with his work. Mike, we really appreciate you coming on the program. Get paid, get laid, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Thank you to Mikey Tags for coming on the program. Check out his stuff at Fantasy Bros, Fantasy Pros. He's an accurate dude, very accurate. And look, let's quickly get into some of our housekeeping things right now. The Manz Week 6 GPPete is live. The link is below and in the comments. I believe there's 10, 15 more spots left. Hop in there. Each week it's growing. This week it's a 40-man's competition. And as I said last week, we're going to be doing some prizes. If you win one of the weekly first place prizes, you're going to be eligible for a Manz GPPete free roll at the end of the season. Also, whoever's on top of the overall DraftKings leaderboard for the league, I believe it's just whoever's finishing in the top 3 to 4 the most, you will also be eligible for a prize. So lots of good skin in the game weekly. It's $5, but then there's also eligibility for prizes down the road. It's a good time. Let's do it. All right, it is now time for our Manz Fans of the Week. This one goes out to Daniel Clarence Wolf on Twitter, Wolf_Clarence. He is a true poker grinder. I ran into him down in Pittsburgh where I was this past weekend for the King of the Hill tournament. This dude's up late at night, drinking beers, putting down shots, crushing the regs, dude. He let me sweat a few hands. We could check some of that out right now.
You checking in the door?
Yeah. And then I saw her picture at the time.
You checking in the door?
Yeah. She's what?
185.
Big time. Okay. You know what I know. No, well, I know. I see what
I do have 185.
This is what I had seen at the time. And then in terms of
Those are good cards, huh, Frankie?
thank you.
Really good cards.
There's a little bit of the Manz effect in action right there, but this guy, he sends me tips on Tommy Dwan's. He's hitting me up. He's asking me about what bets he should place at the casino. So Daniel Clarence Wolf's, dude, you're the man. Keep it up, and good luck at the tables, bro. Get paid, get laid. All right, that about does it for Manz. It does it for this edition of ManzMaker. If you guys missed it, I was on TVs, dude. The Manz has gone mainstream, dude. The Manz is big. We were on Poker Nights in America. Last weekend, we were hanging out with Philly Hellmuth, Dougie Polks. There's some fun links, some fun clips that are going to be coming up. I'll post them on PokerTube's channel. You can also find them on Poker Night in America's channel. It was a good times. Poker Manz was in full effect. The Manz family is growing, folks. I was getting messages that, you know, the Manz is polarizing. A lot of haters and losers, of which there are many, but a lot of new Manz fans coming into the family. So welcome them with open arms. Say welcome. Let's be nice. It's friendly. The water's warm. There's plenty of room for everybody, and we're glad to have you. If you're a poker guy that's coming over to watch some DFS, we love you. If you're a DFS guy watching this show, go check out some Poker Manz on PokerTube. Also, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Pete Manzanelli. Subscribe below on this channel as well. Good luck in week 6. We will catch you on the flip. Get paid, get laid.